Hey, my name is Alex, and this is lesson 30 for 7th grade math. So for this first part, we need to use the zero product property. And for number one, we're given x minus 4 times x minus 2 equals 0. So we're trying to solve when for what value of x makes this equation 0. And if we have, let's say we have x and y, we have two numbers. The only way that this could equal 0 is if one of these is equal to 0, or if both of these are equal to 0. So what we can do is we can make it x equals 4 equals 0 and solve for x here, which gives us x equals positive 4. And we could do x minus 2 equals 0 and solve for x here, which will give us x equals 2. And if you look, if we plug in 4, that'll give us 4 minus 4, which is 0, times 4 minus 2, which is 2. But this 2 doesn't even matter because we have a 0. And 0 times anything is a 0. And same thing with the 2, if you plug it in, we get a 0 over here when we substitute it into x minus 2, because 2 minus 2 is 0. So x minus 4 or 2 is going to be our answer, and it has to be both of them. For number 2, we could do the same thing, x minus 5 equals 0 and x minus 1 equals 0. And we'll get x equals 5 and x equals 1 for our answer. This next part, we need to evaluate the expressions, and we're given g of x, f of x, h of x, and j of x. So for number 1, we're given g of 1. So what this basically means is solve for g of x when x equals 1. So we can just plug 1 in. So it'll be 2 times 1 plus 1. 2 times 1 is 2. So 2 plus 1, which is also 3. The next problem is f of 4. So we're just plugging into 4 into f of x. So we get 4 squared plus 5 times 4, which is also 16 plus 20, which is 36. Number 3, we're given h of negative 5. So we're just plugging negative 5 into h of x. So we get negative, negative, negative 5. Now this may look confusing, but if you look, we have a negative and a negative on the inside. And a negative number times a negative number will give you a positive number. Negative times negative equals positive, like this. So this will result in negative positive 5, which is just negative 5. J of negative 2, we're plugging in negative 2 for x. So we have 100 over negative 2. 100 divided by 2 is 50, but it's negative, so we have negative 50 for number 4. This next part, we need to simplify the rational expressions and find the excluded values for. So for number 1, we have to solve for x. Oops. So we could also get rid of all these. We could get rid of the fractions by multiplying it by 6, but first we could just move the 5/6 over by adding it on both sides. 5 over 3 is also 10 over 6, and 10 over 6 plus 5 over 6 is 15 over 6. So we get 5 over x equals 15 over 6. But 15 over 6 can also be simplified down into 5 over x equals 5 over 2. Now, if you notice, x has to equal 2. Or you could just, if you don't see that immediately, you could just cross multiply. So we get x times 5 and 5 times 2, which will give us 5x equals 10, and x will equal 2. Okay. Number 2, we have 7 over x plus 2 over 9 equals negative 5 over 3x. So first we could group these x's together because they're on opposite sides. So we can move this one over here. So we get 7 over x plus 5 over 3x. And we can move the 2 over 9 to the other side. So it will just be negative 2 over 9. Now 7 over x plus 5 over 3x. This may look confusing, but this is also just 7 times x to the power of negative 1, because x to the power of negative 1 is 1 over x. And 7 over x is also just 7 times 1 over x. So we have 7 times x minus negative 1 plus 5/3 x negative 1. And you don't have to do this, but it also helps visualize it if it's confusing. 7 plus 5 over 3 will give you 26 over 3. And this equals negative 2 over 9. So if you divide both sides by 26 over 3 to isolate the x, we'll get 1 over x, which is also just x negative 1 to the power of negative 1. And we get negative 2 over 9 divided by 26 over 3, which is also just going to be negative 1 over 39. So x will equal negative 39. If you don't recognize that we just need a negative 39 to match this, you could have a cross multiplied, so it would have become negative x equals 39 or x equals negative 39. For this next problem here, number 7, we have 5x plus 20 equals 7x plus 28. So here, we're not solving for anything because it's not equal to anything, so we could just simplify this. And if we like, we could factor out a 5 on the top, so it becomes 5 times x plus 4. And on the bottom will become 7 times x plus 4. And we have x plus 4 on both top and bottom, so we could just cross them out, and we get 5 over 7 as our simplified answer. For number 8, we have x squared minus 4 over x squared plus 4x plus 4. X squared minus 4 is also just x minus 4 times x plus 4. X squared plus 4x plus 4 is also just equal to x plus 2 times x plus 2. Sorry, I messed up here. This should be x minus 2 times x plus 2. So if you put them on the top and bottom, then you'll notice that we have an x plus 2 on top and bottom. So we could get rid of that, and it will just become x minus 2 over x plus 2 for our answer.